All right, the recording's going. So today we want to talk about Roxen because your papers will be coming onto the Roxen system soon. Some of you are next week and some of you are the week afterward. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and that I answer any questions that you have before we start with that. So please interrupt me if I'm not making sense or if you have a question. So Roxen is automated page setup and design. So it has template modules created within it for each story. So that allows us to then just place the whole story. It's got the headline on it, photos are in it, pulled quotes, graphics, whatever. Like it's all there, just one thing that we place. And then we adjust it to make sure it looks good and it fits in the space and all that kind of stuff. But it just goes right there. Where the goal is not to be opening pages in InDesign on our inside pages because our templates are set up well enough that the design can look like a regular page that a designer did to know the difference. Covers and centerpieces, we are expecting that we're going to open those in InDesign to at least tweak in a lot of cases to make bigger changes than just tweaks, but making the inside pages go faster, of course, gives us more time to do that on the covers and with your, section centerpieces. So, all right, I'm going to give you a short demo of how this works so you've got an idea, and then we'll go from there. So, okay, this is the Superior Telegram that comes out tomorrow. I've been working on building it. You can see that some of the pages are already put together. So I'm going to work on this page. Which includes this story. So I click on the story and I already looked at this story because I'm also the person responsible for getting the story from Brightspot into Roxen. So I know what it has in it. But I can always check here to see. It just has a few words, but it also has 14 images. So this is essentially just a Memorial Day package. So I'm going to use this one, and then the secondary story for that page is this one, I believe. So nope, that's not the right one. Sorry. So I'm just going to place the Y. I think I may have omitted the story when I was getting everything ready. All right, so as you can see, when this drops in, it doesn't look great. So I'm going to make some adjustments here for the size first. Change that to a different size. As you can see, it messes with the photos. This one being a photo package is probably not the best place to start. I'm going to actually this one. So again, I picked what the template looks like. So kind of the basics of what I want it to look like. This places it automatically. Takes a moment to work around itself. Then I adjust the size on these. It's not a perfect system. We're still working on some adjustments to the templates to make sure that everything looks the best it can. But I am excited about what we've got so far. Not that you can tell by these templates, of course. So every time I adjust it, then the algorithm within it adjusts the photo, it adjusts the text box, rearranges the headline if necessary. So this now I'm going to just automate making the headline a little bit smaller. And that seems to be the fix we needed for that to show up much better. So I can do this story and I can, I can edit this headline so that it fills. I can, make any changes to the story if there were changes that need to be made. But I can do all of those things within Roxen, so I don't have to open this page in InDesign to fix that. This one, I'm just going to have to pick a different template because that template clearly doesn't quite work for that one. But you can kind of see with this one how we just mess with it a little bit and it fixes itself. And of course, the more experience we get, the faster we're going to be at doing that. But, by the time we get done, the goal is for the page to look such that you can't tell if a designer did it or, that an automated program did. So this page I did a little bit ago. The program did the whole page. I opened up the centerpiece in InDesign to move the cut lines, make it look better, and I changed the headline a little bit. But to do this whole cover took me considerably less time than it would have under the old system. So, and then the other thing I want to show you is, this is the thing you guys are allowed to do in Roxen. I will email you after this with the link to Roxen. To log in, you just use your Google. And then once you get in, this is the first page you're going to see. Don't do anything on this page. Just click over here to this page status. And page management. Pick whatever publication you want. So, for example, if you want to see what's done for Duluth for Saturday, you can go and look at this. So instead of updated page dummies, if there are changes, this is what you're going to have. So you can always go in here to see your most updated pages. You can also go in here then and look at a page if you would like to. If you click on the page once and then hit the space bar, it opens a print preview of the page so that you can see the page. Questions on that? Okay. So when you're in there and looking through those pages, which you can, of course, do if you have time and want to, you can, look at your pages. If you have tweaks you'd like to make to the covers, you can let us know through Slack. And if we have the time, we're going to do that. Like I said, you can check your updated, essentially your dummies when you make ad changes, page changes, stuff like that. If you see a major error when you're looking in there, and by major error, I consider that something that affects revenue. So if you see something overlapping an ad or that the business announcements weren't on the page or something like that, that was missed, or credibility, something that, your readers are going to go, really? Errors of that nature, let us know and we will do our best to always make those changes. When you are in Roxen, please don't do anything other than just looking at the pages like that. There are no permission settings in Roxen, so you could accidentally delete your pages. You could accidentally delete somebody else's pages. There's all kinds of things that could happen. So please just be cautious of that. And then, please don't go back to, trying to proof pages on the story or edit stories once they're on the page, the way that you used to have to years ago. By the time you get the story to us, it should be ready to go, and then we'll take it from there. But, like I said, if you see a major error, that's okay. We're just asking that you don't spend a ton of time in there micromanaging us. All right, so the new workflow is all the stories come into Brightspot like they do now. And then from there, they'll either go to the Pod Digest, and Pod Digest stories will also be in Roxen soon as well. And then all your local stories are going to be put into Roxen by your designer. You will have one person who works with you. So they will take your Brightspot links from the content list that you're working on now. So you use the same one, set it up the same way you do now. A1, inside must run, inside optional, and then, sports, life, all of those sections. And then they will, once the Brightspot link is on there, that's telling the designer that things are ready to go and they can take the story. Then they'll put it into Roxen. They'll double check the story that nothing from the web made it in, none of the, like if you have a note at the end about something or things that shouldn't be in the story, if there's formatting to do, they're going to do that. Then place the story with templates onto the page. If the page has to be opened in InDesign or should be opened in InDesign because it's a centerpiece, we'll do that. Then we'll send it through proofing. And then we are going back to the old system. Some of you may remember from the news days of yore when we had a slot person who checked every page just one more time before they were sent. So that person, looks at the big picture of the whole thing. They're making sure that, a story that was on A3 is not also on B5. Just looking at the whole picture. One last look of the pages for, just security purposes to double check. And then the pages are sent to either print or to PageSuite. Questions on what that looks like now?
Yeah, Alicia, so from an editor standpoint, are we even going to be really needing to use outside of previewing our pages? Is there anything we need to do with Roxen?
Not right now. Nope.
Okay.
We're talking about at some point, stories that aren't in Brightspot. We might have you all manually put those into Roxen. But for right now, if you want to look at your pages, you can look at your pages. Otherwise, I'm just going to ask that you don't touch it.
Okay.
So
like you said, we basically are going to have our same setup. We use a daily budget. We will link the Brightspot link there, and pages ready. The designer will move it into Roxen.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. I just was curious because there is that Roxen button in our Brightspot. And I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something we needed to do.
Nope, that's your designer is going to do that. So,
okay.
So for my teams, they're going to be combined into, Renee.
So if we have any wire story that we may have picked up ourselves, like for business or something, we would have to put that in Brightspot now, as opposed to previously we would have just made maybe a Google Doc.
We can still take stuff from Google Docs, but it would be much, much easier if it was in Brightspot. Shannon asked if Brightspot stories can be scheduled and not published, but linked. They have to be either scheduled or published. If they're in draft form, they won't push to Roxen. So even if you want to schedule it for a couple of weeks out and then let us grab it, and then you can go back and, do whatever editing you wanted to do before you officially scheduled it, that's okay too. So all of my team members are combining into one team, publication services. I'm working on a marketing campaign. P.S. We're here to help, and so we're still going to handle content, design, proofing, the things that we did before. It's just going to look different. Several of my team members will be leaving the company on June 29th will be their last day. That's, the reality of how things go now. Most of what my team is going to be doing now is all going to be inside Roxen, because we'll be setting up the content in there instead of in Google. We'll be designing the pages in there. We'll be proofing in there. The new Pod Digest, you'll still have a Pod Digest like you're used to, but all the stories will also be already in Roxen for designers to just copy over to the property that they're using them for. So, and then my team members' schedules are going to change and their assignments are going to change. So I am working on essentially a weekly coverage plan that says on Monday, this person does this. On Tuesday, this person does this. So each day of the week is the same. So the designers know exactly what they're doing each day. And then you all know, this is our Monday person, this is our Tuesday person, our Wednesday person. And I have tried to keep it the same throughout the week, so that it's the same few people that you're working with, so that you can build that relationship with them. They know what you want and don't have to ask a lot of questions, and you can build the trust in them that they know your publication and are easy to work with for you. Just changes in how we're working things together. One thing I'm really going to harp on is using the graphics request form for, if you've got an enterprise story you worked on in advance, fill out that graphics request form so we can work up a really nice CP for you in advance. If you've got a photo package or a really nice life story that should get extra attention, let us know that so that we can do our best to give them that extra attention, have somebody work to pre-design that piece, send it to you, and then you can have feedback and work back and forth with it. With that, I will just ask you to remember that we do have some busy days with the team. So Tuesday and Friday are busy. So, if you have something for your Saturday cover, turning it in like at 6 p.m. on Thursday night, we might not get to it and we just have to do it live. But if you send it Wednesday morning, we'll almost certainly have time. And then just remember that on the weekends, we're just a skeleton staff. So anything you send later on Friday probably isn't getting touched until Monday. So, my team is always going to do our best for you. Opening things in InDesign to give your covers the attention they deserve, giving you the best possible design. But we are cutting down a lot of staff and things are going to be a lot tighter in terms of the time and turnaround that we use. So I just want to really make sure that the things that really deserve that special attention, that we can work together ahead of time to do that so that things get the attention they deserve. And again, you'll be working with the same person regularly, so you can build that rapport and relationship with that person. So a couple of changes that we're going to ask is, please make sure that whenever possible, you are linking a Brightspot link. It takes about 5 seconds for us to get a story from Roxen into Brightspot. If we have to copy and paste all of the pieces in from Google, upload the photos, add the captions, all of that stuff, as you can imagine, that takes considerably longer. You can still use Google links for some things. For example, if you have records items that don't go into Brightspot, we can use the Google link for that. But just be judicious in what things you're using that for. And, ideally it would be things that don't have much art, because uploading the art part is the hardest. So on your budget lines, instead of no art, if you have a graphic that you added for the web, if you could put web only art, I really appreciate that. That's just going to help signal to the designer that they should be removing that art. Some of the people who are coming over from the design team are not used to working with a budget and realizing that no under art means, oh, this photo of the courthouse isn't there. It's supposed to be there for print. And so putting web only is just going to help make that clearer for them so that we can avoid some of those things running in the paper. You know, please don't duplicate work. We do stuff like we pulled Dear Abby, the Sports Wire for print, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to make your own copies of it. You know, like for Dear Abby, you don't even have to like track down the link from the column budget. You know, you can just say Dear Abby, and we know what the date is and where to grab it from, and we'll take care of all that stuff. Make your life easier and don't duplicate any of that work. And then if you have content that runs in something other than our regular body style, like courts or stuff like that, put in the notes field what script we should use or what style it should be in. And if you don't know like what style we actually use for something, just shoot me an email on what it is and I can track that down for you so that you know what to put there. Questions on any of that?
Just to go back to what Renee said, we link like a Google Doc for in case you missed it. You know, it doesn't. It's things that were in our e-editions.
Yep.
We still do that instead of running that through Brightspot because that would be kind of defeat the, you know.
Yep. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and we also do our agendas through Google. I think it just formats better. Is that still okay? Then Brightspot is, you know, comes out a little weird, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. As we go through, if we're finding things that, you know, you're doing in Google that would work better coming from Roxen or something, then we can have a discussion about it. So it's just, you know, as much as possible, let's be using Brightspot links, but we recognize that for some things, we're just going to have to use Google links, and that's okay. Other questions? Yeah.
Any copy deadline changes with this?
Not right now. Nope. I do, of course, ask that, especially in the first few weeks, as we are learning, that you get things in as early as possible, if not earlier, just so that we have the most time to work on it if we do run into any kind of technical issues as we're doing things. We're about almost 2 weeks in now, and things have gone. Sorry, I'm in newspapers. I'm superstitious. I don't want it but we haven't run into as many hiccups as I was expecting. And so I'm hoping for that trend to continue, but having stuff earlier is always helpful when we're working in a new system. All right. We're not going to be using skeletons anymore. So you don't need to look up a skeleton to pick a design. But if you have preferences in terms of strip, centerpiece, rail, stuff like that, just go ahead and note that on your A1 list so that we make sure that we do that. Otherwise, we just assume that you've put it in priority order. Make sure that the byline and print options is being filled out if you want a byline to run. I don't know if it's anybody in this room, but we do have some papers that like just expect that we'll always add the staff reports and things like that. Please just make sure that you're adding that in yourself so that we've got that. And then when you talk with your teams about this change and what's going on, encourage them to be adding more visuals to their work. The way Roxen is built, it pulls those visuals in automatically. So it's very easy for us to get, I call them physical SEO elements, you know, pulled quotes, in copy subheads, labels, breakouts, all of that kind of stuff. I'm going to stop myself because, as you guys know, I could do like a 2-hour speech on how each thing that you add increases, you know, the readership. But, you know, having 2 extra things to go with a story means 70% more people read it. And the more of these visual elements that are on a page, as people go through their newspaper, they actually read more stories and they come away from the newspaper feeling much more satisfied and fulfilled with the news that you've provided. So not only does it get them to read more of the work that you do, but it makes them happier with your publication. And Roxen makes it easier for us to get all that stuff in. So I'm going to send you all some links after this, once the video renders, one of those links will be a link to a training that I did a few years ago with reporters on how to add some of these visual elements, what the importance of them is, and how they can just, spend like maybe a minute extra on each story and make a big difference in the way that readers will approach that story. And if you want me to give my spiel to any of your reporters something, I can certainly do that. All right, so, we've got some great stuff coming from this change. We're going to be able to give you more consistent design, and it's going to take less time for us to do it. That increased efficiency means that we are going to have more time for the items that deserve more time. An opinion page can be set up with templates really easily. And then the extra 20 minutes that we would have spent on that opinion page, we can give to something else that deserves that. And then, again, using more visual elements helps readers. And then, as I've mentioned before, font changes, we get to have Nimrod again. So dreams really do come true. There are a bunch of different fonts that we'll be using now, and I will send you sort of a short PDF guide of what those fonts look like so you can see them and ask any questions that you have about those, or if you feel like with the centerpiece you have a specific one of those fonts in mind, then you can know the name of it to request. We are also allowing designers to use some other fonts. In the past, we were limited to we can only use these certain fonts because these are the ones that the press can accommodate. But it's not 1985, and the press can accommodate what fonts we put on the page. And so if a centerpiece calls for like a handwriting or a script font or, something that looks really, pixelated and old techie for something or whatever, we can use that now. And I'm excited about doing that because, again, it's just going to allow us to do a better job for you on those centerpieces and make them look nicer and improve the tone of them. Of course, with any change, we do have some negatives. So images, the way that those work in Roxen is that Roxen sacrifices the images first if it has to cut something for space. So you will see more cropping. You should not see any cropping that cuts off the really important parts of the photo. Like people shouldn't be cropped out, the actual happenings. If you see anything like that, please let me know because that means I need to train somebody more. But it's not the same way as our old system where we can make sure that, not even 1/10 of an inch of any photo gets cut off. There's going to be a little bit of change there. In Roxen, we don't have the ability to change tracking, kerning, lighting. So we're going to have some more white space on the page. I don't know if you all have flipped through Duluth editions in the past week and a half. So it just means that sometimes there's a little white space at the end of the story. It looks a little strange when you look at the first page when you're used to the style that we've been using before. But when you flip through a whole paper of it, it doesn't look strange or it doesn't affect readability or having, we've had 0 complaints from anybody in Duluth readership about any, well, I think they had 1 complaint about a puzzle, but nothing to do with, fonts or the design or any of that stuff. It does make it harder to make changes within stories, including when we're proofing, once they've gotten to us. So, again, just make sure that you're editing your stories before they get to us. And if you know that we're going to have to make a change because you've got new information, just let us know as soon as possible so that we have the time to work around that. Again, I'm losing several staff members, so that's going to limit our ability to make major changes and build specialty content on the fly. So again, just as soon as you can get stuff to us, keeping us in the loop on that. And then at launch, we've got some limited design options because Roxen works on a template system and we have more templates to build to do the full breadth of design. We've got the basics that we need right now, but we'll get more. And also as designers learn better to use the templates, they'll have more flexibility in there as well. Questions, any of that? Okay, so just to go through, the top things, use the graphic request when you can so that we can build things in advance. If you've got something unusual or different coming up, let us know. If you're planning on a 2-page photo package for a big event or something like that, plan in advance and get your stories in as early as you can. And on that content list, put any design preferences that you have. Be patient with us. My team is doing their absolute best and they're doing really great. I'm very proud of them. But this is not only a new software that they have to learn, but it's a complete mindset shift, excuse me. They really have to approach design very differently than they have in the past. And, some people are having an easier time with that than others. Some people are learning the software faster than others. So we're doing the best we can. We're working on training, but, just be patient with us and, understand where we're coming from on things too. And then, as always, report any problems or issues. If there's a problem, I want to know about it right away. Whether, like we talked about, if a photo should get cropped funny, let me know because I will follow up with that person. If you feel like something that we're doing isn't working for your paper, anything that comes up, please just let me know, because any issues that we have, I want to get fixed, ideally fixed before we roll any more papers in. And I want to make sure that you and your readers are still very happy with the product that you get. My hope for this is that by making a lot of the things faster, again, that we can give those items that deserve it, the special treatment, and make your covers, shine, and just really do our best for your readers. So, all right, questions? Timeline. Okay, so next week, Black Duck, the BPEJ, the BECS, and Bemidji will start right away at the beginning of the week. Brainerd, we're going to start Wednesday with your Thursday e-edition. Shannon, will start Park Rapids Thursday for Saturday's edition. And then Tris, your papers, we're going to start the following week for DIY Dinaburg. Other questions? Yep, 2 weeks, Tris. We will still communicate in Slack. I'm going to set up some new Slack rooms, and we'll have a Northern group room that you all will be in. And then that way the designers who are working on those Northern papers can be in that room instead of us just having one pod room trying to have conversations between all of the editors. I think you guys can imagine what all of it back and forth would look like if we tried to do everybody. So we're going to split that into a couple of rooms. And then that pod room is just going to become for questions on the digest and, general content sharing kind of things. So once I have that room set up, I will email that out to you as well. Any other questions? All right. Well, you all know where to find me. If you think of anything, I'm available. Steve's available. Michelle, who has been our amazing project manager on this. I would probably be in a home by now if she wasn't here to keep all of this organized, is available if you have questions for her as well. Again, you know, we're trying not to make this too big a change in what you have to do on your side. And we want this to be a change that's a net positive for you and your readers. And so a big part of making sure that happens is that if you do have any issues, I need to know about them. So please just make sure that you keep in contact with me about how you're feeling with things. You know, after you see your first edition, let me know your thoughts, stuff like that. I want to make sure that we're all as happy as we can be with things going forward. So, all right. Anybody have anything else? Okay, we'll go ahead and call it then. Again, you know where to find me if you've got other questions. So